Tonight, Facebook's global pressure campaign revealed.
Basically, Facebook were trying to bully the Canadian government.
What the social network requested from lawmakers around the world. How quickly Canada seemed to respond.
It's no surprise that they have launched this suit.
The Chinese executive in a high-stakes extradition case sues Canadian officials. Why Meng Wanzhou says her constitutional rights were violated.
They're all my friends. I love Jill, I love Corey, I love Kamala, I love Amy, I love Elizabeth. I've had
I didn't hear you say Bernie in there.
And Democratic Party insider Donna Brazile talks personalities and politics, plus her take on Ottawa's current political crisis. This is The Night.
And let's start with that crisis and the testimony everyone on Parliament Hill is waiting for. When Gerald Butts resigned as the Prime Minister's principal secretary, just as the SNC-Lavalin scandal was heating up, he said his reputation was his responsibility and that it was for him to defend. Well, on Wednesday, he gets his chance in front of the House of Commons Justice Committee. At issue are allegations that he helped lean on former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to allow construction giant SNC-Lavalin to avoid criminal prosecution. Now, recall her side of the coin last week. She testified that for months she was pressured by the Prime Minister's office, the Privy Council office, and the Finance Minister's office.
I experienced a consistent and sustained effort by many people within the government to seek to politically interfere in the exercise of prosecutorial discretion.
She called it inappropriate pressure, said she refused to give in, and that is what she thinks led directly to her being shuffled out as Attorney General.
I stated I believe the reason was because of the SNC matter. They denied this to be the case.
The government does indeed have a very different view of things. The Prime Minister himself saying he completely disagrees with her testimony. But when Gerald Butts begins to speak, Canadians will have their chance to decide whom to believe. Olivia Stefanovic takes us through it.
He was the Prime Minister's right-hand man. Now Jerry Butts, a debating champion who has never hesitated to strike back against government critics, is getting his chance to give his version of what happened between him and the former Attorney General.
Did you ever express any concerns to Jerry Butts in writing via text message when you were Attorney General?
I would have to check, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
In his resignation letter, Butts categorically denied the accusation that he or anyone else in his office pressured Jody Wilson-Raybould. In his letter requesting to speak at the Justice Committee, he says he believes he has evidence that will be of assistance.
Not just Jerry's perspective.
This Liberal strategist says Butts' testimony may hinge on text messages, letters, and emails that may cast a different light on the SNC-Lavalin affair.
What is the line between, appropriate conversations around policy, around saving jobs, around saving 9,000 jobs in this country, versus was any direction given? And I suspect his answer will be that no directions were given.
What we saw.
But one opposition MP says he expects Butts to act as a shield for the Prime Minister.
I believe their only strategy right now is to try and undermine her, make her seem like she didn't quite understand.
Strategists warn that could be risky, especially since support for the former Attorney General is growing.
The time for toughness is over. The time for some humanity and for understanding the human situation they're in with this woman is now.
Butts isn't the only one expected to speak. Privy Council Clerk Michael Warnock and Deputy Justice Minister Nathalie Drouin will also testify. But no matter what any of them say, it won't be the end of the controversy. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, another unanswered question involves Jody Wilson-Raybould's political future. She said today she's been confirmed as the Liberal candidate for her Vancouver riding this fall. But when the Prime Minister was asked last week about her place in the Liberal caucus, he said he was still looking at next steps. And then there's the question of Wilson-Raybould's constituents. Do they still support her? Briar Stewart went to see today.
On a sleepy Sunday, Jody Wilson-Raybould's constituency office is pretty quiet. But on the ground, a show of support. thanking her for her, quote, honesty and courage.
I saw flowers out there when I went out this morning and walked by, and I thought, that's awesome. I'm glad people are supporting her.
Still, Christina Parasini, who lives in this riding, is unsure what to think.
I mean, I applaud her for standing up for what she feels has been going on. I still sort of don't quite know who to believe on that one, though.
A few blocks over, people walk and cycle along a busy parkway, and those willing to interrupt their stroll with talk of politics had different perspectives.
Really admire her for kind of standing on her, on her morals and her ethics.
I'm deeply disappointed with the decisions that she made, and I think it's going to come back to haunt her.
Hi, how are you? My name's Jody.
The Vancouver-Granville riding was added for the 2015 election. Wilson-Raybould won it with 44% of the vote. 100,000 people live in this area. Granville Street, which runs the length of the riding, is a hub of restaurants and shops. Further to the south in the riding is the Unitarian Church of Vancouver, where today dozens gathered.
And Jody Wilson-Raybould's testimony.
Reverend Stephen Epperson says the topic has come up frequently at church, and he's met with Wilson-Raybould half a dozen times since she was elected.
She really engages, with people.
He says most in his congregation aren't Liberal voters. They lean further left. Still, they're supportive.
People respect her, and I know that people in this riding, at least people I've talked to, hopes that she runs again.
A lot can happen between now and the fall election, which is when voters here will really get their chance to weigh in. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, it wasn't that long ago that the government's biggest headache was the extradition case of high-ranking Chinese businesswoman. Well, tonight, there's a new twist in that diplomatic rift. The Huawei executive says her constitutional rights were breached when she was arrested at Vancouver International Airport. And so Meng Wanzhou is suing. The CBC's Renee Filipponi is watching this for us tonight. Renee.
Well, Adrian, the notice of civil claim was filed in BC Supreme Court against the federal government, along with some Canada Border Services officers and an RCMP officer. Now, the allegations stem from her December 1st arrest at Vancouver International Airport. Meng's lawyers allege that instead of immediately arresting her on the basis of a warrant they had for that specific purpose, officials left her in CBSA custody for 3 hours. Now, in the notice, they allege officials, under the guise of a routine border check, unlawfully subjected the plaintiff to a detention, search, and interrogation to extract evidence from her before she was arrested and provided with her rights under the charter. So while detained, Meng surrendered all of her electronic devices, including passwords. Her luggage was searched and she was questioned by officers. Now, the allegation is that all of this was done before she was informed of the arrest warrant. Only then did officials have to inform her of her rights and give her the chance to contact a lawyer. Now, Meng's lawyer says because of this, she has suffered from mental distress and anxiety. The CBSA won't comment because these claims are still before the courts. The U.S. wants to try her on charges related to conspiring to violate international sanctions against Iran. Meng will be back in court Wednesday to determine the next steps in that extradition process.
Okay, thanks, Renee.
You're welcome.
A trove of leaked documents is giving us a glimpse into how Silicon Valley giant Facebook just throws its weight around. The leak comes from a British parliamentary committee looking at the Cambridge Analytica scandal. What it reveals so far is an episode in 2013 when the company's chief operating officer, Sheryl Sandberg, leaned on lawmakers of several countries, including Canada. According to one leaked memo, Sandberg told Ottawa it could lose Facebook investment and jobs if it failed to give so-called comfort on regulations. Natalie Danowski has more on the revelations and the response.
This is the particular document that is of interest.
It's called Exhibit 52, internal Facebook memos detailing how company execs tried to lobby Canada's then Minister of Industry, Christian Paradis, during the 2013 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
Basically, Facebook were trying to bully the Canadian government to change privacy laws to suit them.
The document, leaked to British journalist Duncan Campbell, alleges Facebook was considering a data center in Canada, but wanted assurances from Paradis that Ottawa wouldn't get involved in data that didn't belong to Canadians, even though it was passing through the country.
When data flows between countries, there is an open question over who has jurisdiction over it, to govern it, whose laws apply to the flow of that data and to the activity on what is ultimately a global platform.
The memo says Canada caved. Paradis gave Facebook the letter it wanted. We reached out to the former minister about the letter and haven't heard back. The current Liberal government says it too is familiar with Facebook's approach.
There have been a number of interactions we've had as a parliamentary committee with Facebook, and early days, they were very clear that they did not want new privacy rules.
Facebook says the documents are cherry-picked and released in violation of a court order, adding that before committing to a data center anywhere, it vets a country's laws. This is not a threat to withhold investment, but part of our duty to protect people's data.
This is certainly something that our committee ought to get to the bottom of.
These memos are going to be released in full to the public later this week, and we're told there's more to come. As for the data center, it was built in Iowa instead. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, as Natalie mentioned, Canada was one of several targets of lobbying from Facebook back in 2013. According to the memo, Facebook's greatest success was with the then Irish Prime Minister, who said he would use his significant influence to shape upcoming EU data protection laws.
To the U.S. now, where Democrats are turning up the heat on Donald Trump. The House Judiciary Committee is about to issue a torrent of demands for information from people in the president's administration, business, and family. As Paul Hunter tells us, Democrats have suspicions, and they're looking for facts to back them up.
For Donald Trump, here it comes.
Do you think the president obstructed justice?
Yes, I do. It's very clear that the president obstructed justice.
Gerald Nadler, one of many Democrats now chairing committees on Capitol Hill, now with the legal power to take deep dives on Trump. They are wasting no time.
Tomorrow, we will be issuing document requests to over 60 different people and individuals from the White House to the Department of Justice, Donald Trump Jr.
Investigating the president is precisely what Democrats said they'd do if they regained control of the House of Representatives.
He is a racist.
Last week's testimony by Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, was just the start of it. Trump's tax returns, a likely target now of the Ways and Means Committee. His relationship with Vladimir Putin, the Foreign Affairs Committee is on it. Indeed, regardless of what Special Counsel Robert Mueller puts in his soon-to-be-released report, all things Russia is of keen interest to Democrats.
We're also looking at persistent allegations that the Russians have been laundering money through the Trump Organization. I don't know that that's true, but if it is, again, it's a profound compromise of this president.
Certain to push back on whatever Democrats go after, Republicans at a big conservative conference this weekend chanted anti-Hillary Clinton slogans again as Trump ripped into his newly empowered opponents.
So now they go and morph into, let's inspect every deal he's ever done. We're going to go into his finances. We're going to check his deals. We're going to check. These people are sick.
But it's now the reality for Donald Trump, who seems well aware, no matter the outcome of any of the investigations, life's about to get a lot more complicated. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Back in this country now and to British Columbia, where a woman is questioning government funding of religious schools that are allowed by law to discriminate against employees. She's speaking out after losing her job as a teacher when she moved in with her boyfriend. Erica Johnson from our Go Public team has that story.
Okay, so that's right in your contract.
Yeah.
Stephanie Vanderkratz lost her teaching job of 14 years because of a clause in her employment contract. The contract at the Surrey Christian School says all employees must follow Christian values outlined in a community standards policy, including a clause saying employees must abstain from any sexual activity outside of a heterosexual marriage. Vanderkratz had just moved in with her boyfriend.
The impact on me has been enormous. So professionally, personally, for my family, and it continues to hurt.
Surrey Christian School is one of hundreds of religious schools across the country that receive public funding. Many are allowed to have controversial employment policies because they have exemptions from human rights law to protect religious freedoms.
I don't think it's discriminatory because it's not a requirement for people to work here. There's nothing to hide. It's what the beliefs and traditions and values of this particular community are about, and so we're trying to be consistent.
Last year, the BC government gave Surrey Christian and other faith-based schools a total of almost $300 million. This education advocate says taxpayer dollars shouldn't support schools where teachers lose their jobs based on gender identity, sexual orientation, or marital status.
I think that is offensive to most British Columbians and Canadians, that you could be discriminated against and perhaps lose your job because of that.
As societal views change, governments may rethink public funding of such schools, says this human rights lawyer.
If those are schools that are getting public funding, that's something that our taxpayer money is going to, and I think people are right to query, is that something we still want to see in this day and age?
Go Public asked the BC government why it funds schools with controversial contracts. No one from the Premier's office nor the Ministry of Education would address that question. Meantime, the Alberta government is reviewing the contracts from all of its Catholic school boards after a former principal said she felt forced to quit because of her sexual orientation. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
And just a reminder, you can get in touch with Erica and her Go Public team at gopublic@cbc.ca.
Here are some of the other stories we're watching tonight on The National. At least 14 people are dead after a suspected tornado tore through Alabama.
The damage is significant. I would put it in the category of catastrophic based on the destruction of the homes we've seen.
That storm wrecked homes, snapped trees, pulled down a cell phone tower. A lot of the damage is in the small town of Beauregard, east of Montgomery. Emergency responders spent the evening digging through the debris, searching for anyone who might be trapped. And that raging fire has destroyed a strip mall in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Firefighters were called around 5 p.m. local time. It took 2 hours to bring it under control. Of particular worry, the fact that this inferno was right next door to a gas station. Fortunately, there are no reports of injuries. Still ahead on The National. Donna Brazil knows all about the game that is American politics. I sit down with the former chair of the Democratic National Committee in our Sunday interview.
And later, digging out a winter with a bit of help. Turns out a little shoveling can go a surprisingly long way.
But first, they supported Rahaf Mohammed as she fled Saudi Arabia. We introduce you to a global network of activists using social media to fight for change.
I would call it a revolution, yeah. Yes, because it's changing. I feel like it's changing history of Arab women. We've always been silenced.
The cradle of Canadian aviation looks pretty much as it did in 1909, when the Silver Dart flew over Badek Bay, the first heavier-than-air flight in the British Empire. The small group who made it happen included the inventive Alexander Graham Bell and a daring pilot named J.A.D. McCurdy.
I made this little flight, about 60 feet high, 3/4 of a mile across the bay.
As McCurdy flew, Alexander Graham Bell watched.
Then he said, "Oh, my boy, this may have made history."
An exact replica of the Silver Dart 95 years later.
It's incredible.
Jane Shapley, McCurdy's niece and a pilot herself, says her uncle knew he was part of something special.
Remember, he was a protege of Alexander Graham Bell, so I'm sure he picked up understood the big picture from the very beginning, and understood that this was a breakthrough.
That first flight was the liftoff for Canada's own aviation industry. An expansive, undeveloped country needed air travel. And so began the era of the bush pilots, who opened up Canada's north. The Second World War accelerated aviation technology. Canada developed a fledgling airline industry. And by the 1950s, this country was on the cutting edge with such aircraft as the CF-100.
We had a huge pool of engineering talent in this country and a truly can-do attitude. The Canada of the 1950s in the aeronautical world didn't take a back seat to anybody at all.
In the history of aviation in Canada, there is one development, one achievement that falls in the category of what might have been, the Avro Arrow. Canada was on the verge of being a global power in fighter aircraft, but the Arrow was expensive, and it was scrapped by Prime Minister Diefenbaker in 1959.
You realize how ineffective it would have been.
Still, Canada's aviation industry has never looked back. Bombardier is a global giant in regional aircraft. CAE is #1 in flight simulators. Canada's first astronaut, Marc Garneau, was the first non-American flight engineer on a space shuttle. And the Canada Arm is an orbiting billboard for Canada's aerospace technology. Today, a multi-billion-dollar industry that owes a small debt to a few dreamers in Badek, Nova Scotia, nearly a century ago. Eric Sorensen, CBC News, Ottawa.
There she goes!
After a 2-hour wait, the rains finally subsided, and the replica flyer trundled down its runway, tantalizingly close to taking off before splashing into a mud puddle.
Hey everyone. أود أن أبدأ بالتعبير عن شكري لحكومة كندا.
That's the last time we saw Rahaf Mohammed in public. She fled Saudi Arabia, leaving her country and her family behind. And when Canada took her in, she said then that she was one of the lucky ones. Indeed, she might never have escaped if not for how her plight was publicized. But as Nala Ayed reports for CBC's Fifth Estate, that publicity was no accident. Mohammed had help from a network of activists and fellow Saudis who, in growing numbers, have fled a system designed to keep them from running.
Rahaf Mohammed's one-woman protest inside a hotel room at the Bangkok airport was captured by a reporter for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation who joined her.
How long are you planning on staying in the room?
I don't know, as I can. As she dug in on the inside, an untold number of people outside helped her plight go viral. Many of them would later be credited for drawing the UN's attention, and then Canada's, ultimately saving her from a forced return to Saudi Arabia.
How does it feel like to be in Canada?
Little talk, though, of a secret network of women who advised and supported her, a group with presence in Canada. The Fifth Estate interviewed members who have also claimed asylum, including in Canada. Theirs is an online private chat group we're calling the Defectors, who've watched over several heart-stopping escapes to the West, including Rahaf's.
But it was very scary. We didn't sleep for 3 days during the period of time that happened. It was very stressful.
They come mostly from Saudi Arabia and the UAE, their web woven together by a common struggle for women's rights, and for many, a desire to defect, preferably to Canada. It's one response to a growing demand for information among women with nowhere else to turn.
It's really make the travel more complicated for women.
Salwa Al-Zahrani knows. She was inundated with questions when she publicly announced she had safely escaped Saudi Arabia to Canada last year.
Because there is some people helped me before, so I just do what they did for me.
She quietly arrived with her sister after a terrifying escape, yet she still waits for an outcome for her claim.
So I felt like Canada, is the best country to seek asylum here.
She and many others also used wearesaudis.net, a living online manual that compiles advice from asylum seekers themselves. The Saudi psychiatrist behind it says 90% of users are women between 18 and 30.
generally, almost all of them are traumatized. You see this becoming a phenomenon.
I would call it a revolution, yeah. Yes, because it's changing. I feel like it's changing history of Arab women. We've always been silenced.
Unlike Rahaf Mohammed, they must still wait for asylum hearings. The threat of deportation still looms. Their dangerous escapes are over, but not the uncertainty of the journey. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Toronto.
A phone and an internet connection can be powerful tools for defectors, but also for those who want to restrict Saudi women's movements. As the old saying goes, there's an app for that.
Abshir.
Abshir is a gateway to Saudi government services like applying for visas or registering a vehicle. But it also helps men control the movements of daughters, wives, or relatives. It can be used to revoke women's permission to travel and even set up a text message alert if she tries to use her passport. But this week, Google resisted efforts from U.S. lawmakers to get it taken down, saying it did not violate any of the company's rules. Still ahead on The National, calls for political change in Algeria and why protesters in Montreal also want their voices heard.
And her party was hacked during the 2016 presidential election, so she has a warning. My interview with Donna Brazil is next.
She was hacked. Her party was hacked. We were under attack. I couldn't rely on any information I had because we didn't know if the information was accurate.
Forgive me for putting on these sunglasses, but they're actually bifocals and they're the only glasses I have with me. I don't like to see people wearing sunglasses in interviews. This is the only poem I can read. I am the only one who can write it. I didn't kill myself when things went wrong. I didn't turn to drugs or teaching. I tried to sleep. But when I couldn't sleep, I learned to write. I learned to write what might be read on nights like this by one like me.
Through his work, Leonard Cohen has cultivated a public persona just as interesting as his writing that deserves and has a new anthology. While Cohen prefers talking about the present and the future, this book has him looking to his past.
That early stuff was written between the ages of 15 and 20, you know. I think it's been downhill ever since, so I had a real gift then.
In 1956, while still an undergraduate at Montreal's McGill University, he won a national prize for his first book of poetry. His second won him international acclaim.
His blood on my arm is warm as a bird. His heart in my hand is heavy as lead. His eyes through my eyes shine brighter than love. Oh, send out the raven ahead of the dove.
Cohen quickly cultivated the reputation of a chronically depressed poet who was both hip and hypnotic. He dubbed himself the grocer of pain. And while the grocer of pain is still at his post, since 1967, he's been putting his words to music.
We're drinking and we're dancing. The band is really happening. The Johnny Walker wisdom running high. And my very sweet companion, she's an angel of compassion. She's rubbing half the world against her thigh.
At the beginning of his musical career, friends begged him not to sing. Cohen's voice is reminiscent of a truck trying to turn over on a cold Montreal morning. Not pleasant, but a familiar sound, and that sound was honored at the Junos earlier this year with the Best Male Vocalist Award.
You know, it's only in a country like this that I could get the Male Vocalist of the Year.
Last week, Cohen received a Governor General's Performing Arts Award. While he's a bona fide star around the world, musical acceptance here in North America is something new for Cohen.
This is my work. Writing is my work.
Some of the biggest names in Democratic politics gathered today to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Now, 54 years ago, it was the site of one of the key events in the struggle for civil rights when peaceful demonstrators were pushed back by state troopers. In this crowd, some of the 2020 presidential hopefuls, including Senator Cory Booker and Bernie Sanders. Now, when it comes to American politics, Donna Brazile is well acquainted with the old guard and the new faces. She knows them all because she's seen it all, both as a campaign strategist and as a former chair of the Democratic National Committee.
This should never happen to another president. This is so bad for our country.
He is a con man. He is a cheat.
You're a pathological liar.
Divisive probably isn't a strong enough word to characterize American politics right now.
Mr. Trump is a racist. In private, he is even worse.
It's hard enough to navigate without all the talk of Russian interference.
Just what mischief is Russia up to?
The next generation of political leaders will need spines of steel and mentors. For Democrats, one of those mentors is Donna Brazile, a strategist who's seen the best and worst of days for her party.
This is a president who has criticized women, who have called reporters some disgusting things.
An advisor to Bill Clinton during his runs for the White House. She ran Al Gore's 2000 presidential campaign, the first African-American woman to ever do so. And in 2016, she was the chair of the Democratic National Committee, which put her right on the front line of Russia's hacking of the DNC. She was also in the thick of the battle between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
That's just not accurate.
Donna Brazile knows the ugliness of politics, and yet somehow she still has hope. We sat down in Toronto to find out why.
I feel like I need to apologize to you to start off with, and I'll show you why. It was a few days after the election, 2016. And I thought it would be a bright idea to do a story about how on earth people were going to handle their Thanksgiving meals. So I'll just play for you what we're talking about here.
Oh my God.
I don't think we'll have any feud in my house. We all agree that the gumbo should be spicy, the rice should be dirty.
Is that the only topic of conversation at your house this Thanksgiving?
This Thanksgiving, we're going to avoid politics. I've had enough of it.
What I wanted to know then, and what I still want to know now, is what was actually going on in your head then? It was just, it was fresh, this election.
It was. You know, in the hours following the results in 2016, I had to get back to Washington, D.C. to talk to the staff. When it comes to politics, I see myself as a mother, a mom, and they're my kids. I sent them into battle. I raised them. I sent them into battle, and they came up short.
I want to go back to how you started, because you just talked about the importance of talking to your staff, right, of being a leader. And yet, this book starts with an anecdote. It took months for Hillary Clinton to call you.
It was the last time I talked to her, too. I still support her. I still believe that it was a cause worth fighting for. I sacrificed everything I could to help her in terms of, you know, I stopped doing the things that brought me pleasure and happiness so that I could take over this responsibility. For the second time in my life, I am the only human being, I believe, that have served this chair twice, and I never signed up for the job. I was in the line of succession.
Broke your heart.
The last one was not just a heartbreaker. This one caused me to have PTSD, and I didn't understand what that was until months later. I went to the dentist and I said, my mouth won't stop working at night. I was grinding my teeth. I had insomnia, which I've never experienced. Every time my doorbell rang or someone came to my house, I was frightened because of the death threats. I mean, so I had a lot of psychological things that were happening at the same time. And so all I wanted was a basic thank you for a thankless job. And that's all I wanted.
How much weight do you give to the hacks for the loss?
By coming up short less than 100,000 votes, people blamed it on, she didn't campaign hard enough in those states, she didn't do this. Well, take all of those so-called analysis and put that on the table, but put one other thing. She was hacked. Her party was hacked. We were under attack. I couldn't rely on any information I had because we didn't know if the information was accurate. Here someone goes into your house. It's a burglary. They steal your information, and they're using it in ways that are hurting you. They have the ability to control our agenda and our communication, not just with our voters, but with the American people. And you know, the use of social media to form a false narrative, the weaponization of stolen, hacked emails, yes, it had an impact.
How did you notice? What was the first thing that you physically, tangibly noticed about the hack?
I sleep with my iPad, okay? I mean, I have a little issue there with my gadgets.
We'll get you some help.
Oh, yeah, get me some help.
Okay.
But I noticed that it was doing jumbo. Like, it kept asking me for a password. I'm like, well, hell, I gave you the password. What do you want my password for? And it kept, it was as if I could not turn it off. And it just kept asking me for things, and I kept hitting it back. And finally, I called over to a guy named Bates in our IT department. I said, something's funny. And then I noticed that some of my other staffers were having issues, and they told me that the IT department said, turn in your computer. Well, my computer, in my case, my iPad, was owned by me, but my internet address was the DNC, and that was the hacked, stolen information that was being corrupted.
What's the most personally disturbing thing that happened to you as a result of the hacks?
Well, I believe as a result of the hacking, you know, just my entire life is still on lockdown. I tried to apply for a credit card because I needed a MasterCard and a Visa. And I just applied, and you can't have access to my credit. I'm frozen.
Within a couple of days, there would be a massive dump of emails that would damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. Mr. Trump responded by stating to the effect, wouldn't that be great?
The subject of the hacks has come up again this week because of the Michael Cohen testimony,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Suggesting Roger Stone called Donald Trump to say this is coming. What were the words that came out of your mouth when you heard that?
I've been talking to Michael Cohen now for a few months, and so I'm not surprised. I've not discussed our conversations with anyone because I believe they're private communications. I have, on more than one occasion, expressed my utter disappointment, my frustration that it's taken us this long to get to the bottom of everything. And of course, I just hope that we can find ways to protect and secure our elections in the future. I can't bring back the past. Many of the wounds I still have, they've healed. There are some that are not going to heal anytime soon. But I just want the country to know what happened. Because if we don't prevent this if we don't expose what happened, someone had to have talked with foreign operatives. You always know when there's something happening in your elections.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
What does it change, though, that Donald Trump might have known about these leaks? What does it change for you?
Well, first of all, I'm very disappointed with President Trump. From day one, he should have condemned what was happening. He should have said, we're not going to use these stolen, hacked emails for political gain. Instead, they encouraged it, they utilized it, they weaponized it, and they almost encouraged the hacking by saying, give us more, without consideration of what it would do to undermining our democracy. It put every institution in American politics on notice that foreign money and foreign actors are playing in such a dangerous way in our electoral politics.
When Hillary Clinton was having the fainting episode and you were asked if we needed a new ticket, what would it be? You said?
I said Biden and Booker.
And how do you feel about Joe Biden, Cory Booker
Because
now?
the old and the young and the restless searching for tomorrow, one life to live. That's a soap opera. I don't have a favorite. They're all my friends. I love Joe, I love Cory, I love Kamala, I love Amy, I love Elizabeth. I've had dinner.
I didn't hear you say Bernie in there.
I have enormous respect for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders and I go back to the Jackson campaign. So I'm in love with all of them. Why should I have to choose?
Because
they make me feel young again. You know why? Because we now have a party that is talking about the future. Can you imagine? We're having a debate within the Democratic Party over climate change and how fast and how far we can go in cleaning up this planet and cleaning up the mess that we've created. We're having a debate about living wages and income inequality. We're having a debate about the future of education. These are debates that we have missed because we've been talking about what? Donald Trump. For the last 4 years has been Trump, Trump, Trump. And I think people are beyond that, and they want a party that can go beyond Donald Trump.
Let me ask you about Kamala Harris for a second. We had a panel up here, and a viewer asked one of our analysts, what about Kamala Harris? And the American analyst said, you know, I believe Americans can get past their racism and their sexism. I'm not sure they can do it at the same time.
Ooh. You know, I've seen America get past its racism and its sexism. And you're right, I haven't seen a candidate since Shirley Chisholm to break that double bind. She broke it by becoming the first black woman in Congress. Imagine if had Shirley Chisholm lived to see this day, she would be 94 years old, just like Dr. King would be over 90 years old. And they would have seen, Dr. King would have turned 90, they would have seen this country grow up and this country accept differences and diversity. Today in American politics, we have the most diverse Congress ever. And so I think we can get past racism and sexism. We're going to get past all of it in my lifetime. And I'm just waiting for it to happen.
Okay, really nice to meet you properly.
Same here, thank you.
So as an aside, I asked her what she made about what was going on with Jody Wilson-Raybould and the Prime Minister here, you know, for an outsider's perspective. Sure. She said she thinks it's quite serious and that she doesn't understand why people don't understand that transparency is a disinfectant, as she put it.
And well, speaking of transparency, I mean, you'd mentioned how, I guess over the course of the hacks, Brazil herself had been accused of leaking debate questions to Hillary Clinton. I mean, what did she have to say about that?
Well, she's apologized for that. She's accepted responsibility. She said she was doing her best for both campaigns, but the leaks released emails selectively, which in her mind made it look worse than it was. She knows not everyone is going to accept that. And she kept trying to bring it back to sort of her core message, which is that this is an election year for a third of the world. You know, we've got India, Indonesia, Ukraine, Canada, of course, and that interference is a threat to all of them, and we, in particular, are certainly not immune.
Interesting state of affairs. Still ahead on The National. Montrealers take to the streets in protest of a potential fifth term for Algeria's president. But first. In case you missed it, word that Ed Bickert, a giant of Canadian jazz guitar, has died.
He could play 3 notes and it would sound like a 10-note chord.
He probably influenced most guitar players who have ever listened to him.
Ed's just one of the best.
That awe stands in contrast to the humility Bickert brought to his craft. He came to Toronto to make it in music in the 50s.
I would consider myself a greenhorn jazz musician at that time. And in some ways I still think that may be true.
In fact, by the time of that interview, Bickert had long been legendary. His chord work so stunning. To colleagues, he almost sounded like a piano.
He made the guitar sound like there was more than one thing going on.
And his sound is immortalized in the generations he's inspired.
When it said, play like Ed Bickert, the chords, would be stuff like...
Ed Bickert was 86.
The punches were thrown in Czechoslovakia, but their impact was felt halfway around the world in Canada.
What's your reaction to yesterday's international hockey fisticuffs fiasco?
Today, the junior hockey Donnybrook was the talk of the open line shows, from hockey coaches.
But we must remember that in hockey, fighting is part of the game, and it has been for a long time.
To the mothers of young players.
But I am observing us losing a great deal of talent, beautiful young men, like I say, at 12 or 15, just refusing to play hockey anymore.
CBC sportscaster Bruce Dobigan has seldom seen such an outpouring of emotion.
I thought that all of a sudden I realized what a deep sort of strain this hits in Canadian people, that hockey touches people like nothing else. I think it's the one thing that we really associate with our national pride.
The hockey fight of the month. Joe Cirillo of the Devils in the light, Bobby Basson of the Islanders in the dark.
Violence is nothing new to pro hockey. The American networks even assemble special packages of the NHL's lowlights. Junior hockey is supposed to be different, and generally it has been. In 1982 and in 1985, Canadian juniors won the World Championship. They had little trouble with the strict international rules against fighting. In fact, the Canadians even won the Fair Play Medal a couple of years ago. As for yesterday, Al Eagleson, Canada's top diplomat on international hockey, thinks the Canadian players had no choice.
It's a sad answer to a problem created by a lack of self-discipline, which is totally understandable. I think if my son had been there, he would have jumped the boards to help his friends.
If there's one word that keeps coming up, it's discipline. You have to teach discipline to kids, whether they're 14 or whether they're 24, playing internationally. They have to be disciplined. They have to understand that these are the rules of the games over here. You're not playing by your own rules anymore.
As the lights went out in Czechoslovakia yesterday, a new debate about Canada's game was just beginning.
They turned the lights off in the arena, but that isn't going to solve anything.
We spoke to two of the Canadian players just after their arrival at Toronto Airport, goalie Sean Simpson and defenseman Kerry Huffman.
Sean, where were you in all the kerfuffle?
I was on the bench at the time. Jim Waite started the game, and I don't know, I was just watching the game and it all came, and I just came off the bench.
What do you mean, I just came off the bench? I mean, what goes on in a guy's head? What do you see? What boils out, and why do you move? Because you were programmed to not move out there, right?
I don't know, just we're on the bench and we see 5-on-5 guys fighting on the ice, and we see the other team leave their bench, and it's just a natural reaction that we go out and help the guys in our team and stick up for the guys in our team, and I don't know, you don't even really think twice of it, it's just something you do.
How many were you each taking on, Kerry? I mean, where were you? Did you get hurt?
No, I didn't really get hurt. There was one time when I had a hold of two of them, and then but then your players came on and helped you out. So that was good. There's always somebody there to help you out.
I'm Arlene Dickinson. It's my mission to launch the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Cheers.
People who are risking it all to buy their own business.
I'm falling in love right now.
How much money do you want to invest? I introduce a few lucky entrepreneurs to 3 businesses.
High five.
And they're going to have to make a life-changing decision to put one of them under new management.
What are you thinking?
Under New Management with Arlene Dickinson, March 15th on CBC.
Welcome back. Here are some of the stories we're watching this week. Tomorrow, we'll have an eye on Venezuela. Opposition leader Juan Guaido is coming home from Ecuador, even though he was banned from leaving Venezuela to begin with. He's calling for nationwide demonstrations against President Nicolas Maduro. And word is spreading via social media for people to gather in the morning.
This is currently a beautiful view of Dragon 2 in full sunlight. Many of us at SpaceX have waited years for this view.
Elon Musk's SpaceX Dragon capsule made a successful docking today with the International Space Station. It's a big step towards putting the U.S. back in the business of launching astronauts. On board was a test dummy named Ripley, after the main character in the Alien movies. On the ISS, Canadian astronaut David Saint-Jacques monitored the docking and described it as flawless. And joint military exercises between South Korea and the U.S. will begin tomorrow, but they will be different than usual. The countries announced today they're canceling the major spring drills and replacing them with smaller versions. They say the scale back is to help in the diplomatic effort to get North Korea to denuclearize. Donald Trump has also been complaining about the cost.
So let's talk about protests for a moment. Calls for change grew louder in Algeria today and echoed around the world, in Europe and here in Canada. Algerians took to the streets again today. That's because there's a midnight deadline to file papers for an April election, and they're trying to tell their president not to run for a 5th term. Police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds, just as they did last week. On Friday, tens of thousands of Algerians protested, demanding the end to Abdelaziz Bouteflika's 20-year rule, saying he is corrupt and unfit to rule. He's 82, suffered a stroke in 2013, and has rarely been seen since. He's now in hospital in Switzerland. But defying protesters, including these in France tonight, Bouteflika's team did file his candidacy documents, though they said he will step down within a year if he does win a 5th term. That is not likely to satisfy anti-government protesters, not in Algeria or in Canada's largest Algerian community. Simon Nakaneshny has The View from Montreal.
It's not quite springtime yet in Montreal, but for this crowd, an Algerian spring is well underway.
It's enough. They have to go out, get out. The game is over.
Nadia Yalla left Algeria in 2013. She says after decades of autocracy, it's time for a thaw.
It's corrupted government. It's not the government. It's a mafia.
Like protesters in Algeria, the target of their rage is President Abdelaziz Bouteflika and his decision to seek a 5th term. Protesters, including this doctor who came to Canada in 2006, say he's overstayed his welcome.
For the 5th time, President, imagine. So we say to this person, no.
This is the second weekend huge crowds have taken over the street in front of the Algerian consulate. It's both a show of solidarity for the people of Algeria and a show of defiance for the country's ruling government. Last week, as protests grew in the streets of Algiers, Bouteflika's ruling FLN party dug in, issuing a warning for those who think this is another Arab Spring, the protests and calls for democracy that spread across much of the Arab world in 2011, saying protests in Syria also started peacefully but led to a bloody civil war. Hamza bin Daoudi calls that fear-mongering.
So they are giving us two choices, Syria or them. We want to say no Syria, no them. We want something different. We want a democracy.
Many here say the ailing president is just a puppet for a cadre of elites who've ruled the former French colony for decades.
I was 22 years old when I was in Algeria in 1988. So it was the same problems.
Algerians here say they'll keep up the pressure on the streets of Montreal and will watch with anticipation now that protesters back home have found their voice. Simon Nakaneshny, CBC News, Montreal.
Okay, still to come. Sometimes winter's easier when you have an extra hand or 30. So when the snow blocked out the windows at a New Brunswick nursing home, some of the local high school kids sprang into action.
Their windows are like pretty high. We shoveled a couple feet of snow. Yeah. And it took like 2 hours. Like we did it after lunch, and it was like 2 different classes.
I didn't see them doing it. I was hibernating in my room.
And here's a quick look at something we'll have for you tomorrow. With March break just ahead, Canadian public health officials are warning travelers to make sure their measles vaccines are up to date. The concern comes from a global outbreak of cases this winter, including 15 in British Columbia. Many are said to be the result of what's being called vaccine hesitancy. Tomorrow on The National, our panel of health experts will look at the reasons, the implications, and what you and your family can do to stay safe.
I guess it's just that family connection and just not having some kind of memory at times. And it always goes back to being robotic. No feeling, no emotions, no nothing. If you got hurt, no one was there to comfort you. You know, things like just things that as a child I should have gotten from a loving parent, you know, or an adult who looked after me. I wasn't able to parent my children as well as I wish I could have. No one ever read to me. You know, no one ever came and cuddled me or, you know, gave me a hug if I was feeling sad or upset, or I'd fallen down and no one was there for me. I had to just basically pick myself up and keep going. I'd like to think I'm getting better at it with my grandchildren.
Did your parents go to residential schools?
Yes, they did. She just told me that she had actually gotten punched in the face for speaking her language, and she flew across the room, she said, and landed against a rad, and her tooth protruded through her upper lip, so she had a scar on her lip. She also told us that she did not teach us her language, which was Ojibwe, because she didn't want us to experience what she went through. It was her way of protecting us. My dad, he just kind of said, you know what, he says, with you, he says, we were like little robots. We were like little soldiers, he says. We used to parade around like soldiers, he said. And we were so hungry. And that's where he learned how to eat raw potatoes. I used to wonder why he used to eat raw potatoes, but they were hungry. So they would eat raw potatoes, and then they'd take some of the potatoes and at night and they'd exchange for bread with other students. If I was to give advice, I would suggest that people start to listen, to allow us to talk and to be heard and to listen. That's such an integral piece of this whole process, is listening and actually believing us. You know, because at the beginning, people said that we all colluded across Canada to make this story up. And I was like, how could we possibly have ever done that? We couldn't. So it's that belief that things really did happen to us. And it's affected us in many ways personally, you know, in our everyday life, our relationships with people and our family. And it's because of that relationship being affected, we can't be who we should be as healthy individuals, as parents, you know, community members, cousins, relatives, any kind of relations that we have. I think that's very important, and that we all sit together. It's nice when we can sit together too and talk, you know, like how can we move forward? Let's move together. Let's move forward together.
Hi, I'm Sarah McLachlan, host of the 2019 Juno Awards. Join me as we celebrate the biggest night in Canadian music.
The Junos, March 17th on CBC.
Green beer, plus an arena full of excited fans, and live performances from Canada's greatest musicians. You do the math.
The Junos, St. Patrick's Day on CBC.
This is CBC News.
If the story matters to you, you can always turn to us. CBC News, right where you are.
There have been a number of big dumps of snow across the country this winter, especially in the Maritimes. And in one New Brunswick community, the snow piled so high, it blocked the view from several windows of a nursing home. So out came students from a couple of classes at Bathurst High School, shovels in hand. By the time they were done, the wall of snow was broken down and natural light was once again streaming back in. Now, two of those students and one of the residents told us how it happened and what it was like. And that is our moment tonight.
One of our teachers' grandmother, she lives here, and she came to visit her one day and she noticed how dark and gloomy it was, and she suggested that our class go and shovel.
Because we don't go outside very much in the wintertime because it is slippery outside and you can't sit outside, it's too cold. So it is nice if you can see out the window. Yeah. So at least we have a little bit of entertainment.
Their windows are like pretty high. Like we shoveled a couple feet of snow.
Yeah.
And it took 2 hours. We did it after lunch, and it was 2 different classes.
One of the residents came out and shoveled with us. Yeah, it was really fun.
I didn't see them doing it. I was hibernating in my room after the snow was gone. It was all right up to the top of the windows. And when the snow was gone, it was really, really nice and bright. It was really nice. Yeah, we were very grateful to the high school kids.
Planning on continuing until winter was done, because we realized how much of a big impact it made on them.
Good for them. And she's right, it had a huge impact. It's one of those things, firstly, I had no idea that was even possible for the snow
to go that high.
But But, you know, you don't think that the impact of not getting the natural light and what a difference it made for them. Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. Most surprising thing, I would say, is that they found it fun to shovel snow. I mean, who finds it fun to shovel snow? But, you know, good thing that they did, because there's a lot more snow coming, right, overnight. And that part of the country has seen record amounts of snowfall. A weather station in where is it, Woodstock, New Brunswick, reporting snow depth to be 60 centimeters, which is more than double or almost double what they're usually expecting to have this time of year. So they'll have to roll up the sleeves.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's the National for this March 3rd. Have a good night.